Hey everybody, Jeff Oriema here. I want to talk about why MCP does better with GraphQL. Reason 1. Tools are generated, not written. A GraphQL schema already knows a lot about the capability you're trying to expose. A root field has a name, it has arguments, and those arguments have types. It defines a return type and descriptions around all of those things. And it already has execution semantics behind it. So instead of maintaining a GraphQL API over here and then separately hand authoring an MCP tool catalog over there, you can derive one from the other. Now that's useful on its own. Your graph can remain the source of truth and your MCP tools can be an artifact of it. But honestly, that's still kind of the boring version. Reason 2, there's an overpowered general tool called GraphQL execute. If the model can write a GraphQL operation, and believe me, they can, and there's a ton of skills and other tooling around this that helps them write even better GraphQL operations out of the box. And you're using your existing platform that already has all your auth rules in place. And the only tool you may really need is something like GraphQL execute. Now the agent isn't restricted to the individual tools you anticipated ahead of time. It can ask for exactly the combination of data that the task requires. And believe me, you're not anticipating every task that a user can give an agent. It can traverse relationships, combine fields, alias multiple lookups into one operation, and construct a request that nobody explicitly sat down and designed as an MCP tool. With a conventional tool catalog, the application developer decides the useful operations in advance. You can create get customer, get orders, get order items, whatever. Then the agent has to stitch those capabilities together through multiple tool calls. With GraphQL, the graph already describes how these things relate. The agent can say, give me this customer, their 3 most recent orders, and for each order, give me these 2 fields from each line item. One operation, boom. And that leads directly to the next reason. Reason 3, GraphQL helps you spend your tokens on reasoning, not orchestration. Every additional tool call creates another decision point. The model has to select the right tool, construct the arguments, interpret the response, decide its meaning, and figure out what to call next. Now, sometimes that's genuinely reasoning, but a lot of the time it's just like retrieval orchestration, which is a low-value use of your tokens. If the graph already knows how to traverse from a customer to an order to a line item, I don't particularly want the model pretending to be a distributed systems coordinator. I want the model deciding what information it needs, and I want the graph resolving that request deterministically and relatively cheaply. That separation between reasoning and retrieval is one of the things I find most interesting here. The agent reasons about the task, GraphQL handles the mechanics of assembling the data. Reason 4, GraphQL is way more token efficient. In my benchmarks, I measured that tool call response size is 10 times less for a task running GraphQL over MCP versus the equivalent REST over MCP task. Also, the total cost of inference for those equivalent tasks was between 3 and 20 times cheaper with GraphQL over MCP. The reason GraphQL is so efficient is simple. If the task just needs an ID, a status, and a total, then returning 40 other fields, because that's what the endpoint happens to return, is not free anymore. That response becomes model context. So, field selection can directly reduce response size and token consumption. And if GraphQL also lets you collapse several tool calls into one operation, you can attack the cost from both directions, fewer calls and smaller results. And I think that also has implications beyond cost. Reason 5, GraphQL gives the agent fewer opportunities to screw up. Let's say you have a task. GraphQL can solve that same task with fewer tool selections, fewer intermediate responses, and less irrelevant context. For each low-value step you remove, you're also taking away places where the workflow can go wrong. Every unnecessary tool selection is another chance to pick the wrong thing or hallucinate. Every intermediate response is another thing to misinterpret. And every giant payload is more irrelevant information mixed in with the information that you actually care about, that actually produces results and value for your organization. So when GraphQL reduces the amount of orchestration the model has to perform, I'd expect some of that efficiency to show up as reliability as well, as task success. And then there's one more reason that matters, especially if you already have a serious GraphQL platform running. Reason 6. Your agent gets to inherit the graph you already know how to run. GraphQL is self-describing. We know this. Types, arguments, relationships, descriptions, etc., etc. All of that. This is equally helpful to humans and agents. And if you already have a mature graph, you probably have more than just a schema. You may already have ownership, schema checks, deprecation policies, documentation, auth, observability, and governance around it. That matters because one of the risks with agent infrastructure is accidentally creating an entirely new integration layer next to all the systems you already know how to operate. Shadow IT for agents is no safer than Shadow IT for people. If your MCP service is derived from the graph, or if MCP is exposing controlled access to the graph directly, you get to reuse a lot of that machinery. So when I say MCP does better with GraphQL, I don't mean MCP needs GraphQL. I mean GraphQL gives MCP a principled, unified, and integrated interface that is already designed around the data that powers your business. At the simplest level, that means better generated tools, or it may mean that your agent can make its own tools at runtime safely because it's constrained by your existing governance practices. Give the agent a graph. Give it GraphQL execute. Let it ask for what it needs. That's it for now. See you next time.